Happy hump day. It's 9 to noon, all-star break week, and now we finally hit D-Day. Deadline day, report day, extension day, or just another Wednesday in the good land. I'm Billy Schmid, along with John Coon on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line, and all of you. Nick Bruzowitz by our side inside the iHeart Megaplex studios. You can reach us as always, on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. It's 414-799-1973. You can also watch the show streaming live on YouTube, not X at the moment. Thanks, Elon. We'll figure that out coming up momentarily. But hey, listen, we are so excited to be talking about sports in the state of Wisconsin with you here today. Most excited because, John, I believe we maybe are not getting news here today, but luckily enough, this was one of the days today that I decided to listen to the award-winning Zabin Butch in the morning, right before we signed on to this radio program. A lot of times, I like to have our conversation before the show. A lot of times go back and forth with Armin on some ridiculous nonsense that makes
you guys
no issue into the show.
Petty arguing in the morning.
Yeah, 100%.
I think, man, you guys got enough coffee in you to be arguing over whether, Saved by the Bell was better than, Full House. I can't believe you guys are getting into this right now.
100%. Boy Meets World gets into the conversation at some particular point. We'll get into some Vegas talk, but I kind of keep that off to the side. This morning, I was graced by the excellence of those boys, and hearing it boom through the speakers earlier.
Are you starting to miss Armin? I think you are. Not having Armin in there in the mornings to ruffle feathers. I mean, you got
John. It is a little quiet. It is a little bit quiet here in the morning, and I'm trying to get myself to the 10 right out of the gate.
I mean, you got the bruiser there, Nick Bruzowitz,
who's battling himself today.
Does he not come in and does he not ruffle feathers? Does he not take it to the next level? Does he not know what this business is all about? Come on, Nick. Come on now.
Nick's trying to get himself to the finish line here today without having multiple pit stops at a spot near you.
Well, you got a tummy hurt?
Yeah,
you got a little tummy ache?
Yeah, I am.
You can't be called the bruiser with a tummy ache. What's going on, man? You were off for 2
battles
days
today.
Listen, when you come back from that vacation, I don't care how hard you pushed it, you got to come back ready to go. Like the coaches used to always say, we don't care what you guys do on your days off, but when you come back to work.
You come back and you know what you're coming back to. Yeah, so Nick knows he's coming back to me trying to throw some uppercuts back there. But I was, we're finding some things. So I'm listening to these guys earlier as we're getting some work done. And more importantly, just finding an area to get some work done in here because they're doing a lot of construction work in the studio here today. It's a lot of fun this summer inside the iHeart Megaplex studio. But being able to know that earlier in the week, we kind of potentially deem this extension day. We thought that this would be a day on report day for the quarterbacks for the Green Bay Packers, that we would maybe get some news on Jordan Love. Maybe it comes up before the first practice on Monday, maybe the first preseason game coming up on August 10th. But when I hear Steve Zabin and Brian Butch call it a bitch move that the quarterback decided to handle the question earlier this week at his quarterback camp out in, I believe, Southern California. He has the quote, and he talks about it right here. And Mike Clemens had the video. Stephanie Sutton of WISN also sending out the video. We appreciate them for hustling and getting this question that quickly. They knew they weren't supposed to ask, but you have to ask it anyway, and this is how it was handled by the quarterback.
I think back my hometown, Derek Carr and David Carr both had a camp that I went to as a kid. So that was something that, impacted me at a young age. And those 2 guys that I looked up to and were from my hometown, and I think it was awesome. So that's something I definitely look forward to being able to do now that I'm in the same position as them.
Brian Goodwin says he hopes to have a contract extension done with you before the start of camp.
Sorry. Nope. All right. News to come. Nope. Sorry. That's it. All right.
Okay, so you can kind of subtly hear Jordan trying to brush it off with the news to come statement behind the fact of some laughter and some ruffling of microphones back and forth. And also, whoever the cat is in the bucket hat that quickly walks in and says, no.
Yeah. No. That's the muscle. No. That's the bruiser. That's the bruiser of the football camp. Nick Bruzowitz of the football camp.
Disappointing looking bruiser.
That kid was.
I didn't think he was big enough to be a bruiser.
He was ready. Well, you got high standards.
Nick, if you were given a job, if you were given one job and one job only, you stand here at this football camp, okay? And for the next 15, 20 minutes, however long he's talking to these reporters. The first time anybody said they've been given directions, a certain set of directions. If they break that protocol, you step in, you call it.
end this thing.
You end it.
End it.
I think you could step up to Stephanie Sutton, right, and Mike Clemens. I think you'd be able to handle that muscle there, Bruiser.
Appreciate that. I think Zabe dove into it, and I know Billy disagrees with what he had to say, but that was quite the
Well, I just
little
know
audio clip.
more than anything, for me, Jordan can handle it however he wants. I believe Jordan was about to potentially handle it, but it is the no. Jordan can answer the question at some particular point. I think he will answer the question at a very, very soon particular point.
Yeah.
But John, as you mentioned it seems like my man had the strict edict to end it quickly. And I do believe Jordan was going to give them the 10 to 12 seconds that people are looking for. I believe he was about to say, hey, I don't know. I've been told it's getting close, similar to how he answered it at the trash can 1 to 2 to 3 times during mini camp and OTAs. But when you take the microphone out of the man's hands, how can you allow him to speak for himself in the moment where he's about to have $200 million thrown in front of him?
So let me ask, bitch move, the term bitch that Zabe said.
Yes, that was the term.
That was in reference to Jordan Love not answering the question.
Not answering the question by
Okay,
the
well,
media,
you know,
because they fly out there, their resources are being spent.
Well,
They deserve an answer.
I actually feel like this was a camp. He just got back to town this week. I think this was a camp in Wisconsin. I actually think.
Yeah.
Okay. Flex
so-
work.
Yeah. So, listen, I've done these camps when I was playing, and I know what these situations are like. And listen, when you're doing a contract negotiation, you can only mess it up. You can't make it any better. There's not anything you're going to say into the media that's going to make anything better. And this is not a tumultuous contract situation. There's nothing screwy going on here. They're trying to meet on a number or terms or signing bonus or whatever it may be. He, his agent, and the Green Bay Packers and he are all trying to work at creating this contract that's going to be good. Now, he's got to talk to the media about it. They come into that facility, and the first day he has availability, which his availability being the quarterback will be once a week. He will have a designated day, and his first designated day, if there's not a contract done by that time, he will have to answer all their questions about it. And he will give you the right answers to those questions. But right now, he is under no obligation to talk to the media. And like I said, you can't make this any better. You can't make the situation better. You could only potentially make it worse. So, by instructions of your agent, you're not supposed to answer these questions. When you show up to these camps, because I've done these camps, I've headlined these camps, okay? I worked with a lot of fullbacks over the years, but really football players. But as a fullback, you go in there, and hey, it's a pretty cool camp. You got 200 to
Absolutely, yeah.
200 to 500 kids, depending on the camp. So it brings a lot of eyeballs. And there will be media that shows up to these camps to say what great work you're doing in the community, Jordan Love. And with those cameras to see all those kids in the community, they're going to want to ask you a couple questions. And before you do the interview, you are asked as the headliner, as the player, all right, can we do this interview? Can we talk about the camp? Can we talk about the good work you're doing in the community here?
Set the table as to what we can talk about.
Can we talk about how great these kids are and how excited they are to see you and how excited you are for a season? Can we talk about Packers? Can we talk about the season? I did one of these camps one time, Billy, and it was at the exchange of Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. I think it was 2008. And I said, yeah, the only thing I just don't want to answer any questions about,
Sure, I don't
Brett,
want to answer that. Yeah.
Brett leaving and Aaron coming back. They obliged. Listen, the bitch move here, this is not a bitch move. Quite frankly, I know Stephanie Sutton and I know Mike Clemens, they had to ask because they felt like
that's what they were told to go do.
They wanted these digital assets. Their employer wanted these digital assets. They knew it was going to get shut down because they were told ahead of time it was going to get shut down, but they still did it. That should not look poorly on Jordan Love whatsoever. He'll answer in due time when it actually gets to that spot.
Yeah, and he's got plenty of time to answer those questions. And like you mentioned, it's going to come up here sooner rather than later. I don't like the fact that there wasn't the opportunity for him to just calmly shut it down. Hey, my man, I understand that we take our job very, very seriously off here to the right side. He's a 25-year-old grown up and he understands the situation, right? Like went through a whole year being the starting quarterback of an NFL team. He understands how he can politically answer the question, give himself the opportunity. And the other part of it is, John, like you mentioned, I know you can't do anything but probably harm the situation. I firmly believe he wasn't going to, right? And I think David Mulligetta and company also would say that. It's one of those moments where, like, I see Sheila in Milwaukee say rookie mistake. I don't necessarily agree, because he wasn't given the ability to showcase a little bit of polish, a little bit of media training. We want to see him showcase this. We want to showcase the best, which this first segment, the best part has been the amount of text that we are getting as to what in the heck is going on behind us here. I don't know if it's a fire alarm. I don't know if it's a carbon monoxide alarm. I don't know if it's an off the air alarm.
Well,
I don't know what is happening behind
if
here.
If it's a carbon monoxide alarm, I'm going to end up doing this whole show by myself.
Pretty quickly, yeah. No brakes, because no one's hitting the button.
All gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
Potentially be
Literally.
the situation.
Jeez Louise.
I guess we could play off of this alarm. Any alarm sounding in either of your heads about the Jordan Love situation?
No,
I mean,
this is
some people are going to
stupid.
look at this and say, "Oh, this guy's too big for the question." Any concerns?
No, that's the disappointing part for me, John.
No, this guy's too big for the question. How is he too big for the question? He didn't have to stand in front of the cameras for a second. He stood in front of the cameras to do a good deed for the community, to talk about the service he's doing at a kids camp, to talk about all the kids that are excited about,
talk about football starting up again
out there. Talk about football season starting back up, and Billy's got, padded practices on a practice field with a high school team, and colleges starting up, and quarterbacks and rookies showing up here today to Green Bay. He didn't have to show up. He didn't have to step in front of the cameras, but he did, and he did it under one guideline. Hey, the contract's a delicate situation, and I don't have to talk about it right now. I don't have to talk to you guys at all, but I'm willing to talk to you guys at all if you don't ask that one simple question. So please just, oblige by that, and I'll oblige by you guys and give you anything else that you want. Just don't ask me about the contract, because it's so close right now, and I don't want to do anything about it. I don't want to mess anything up.
It also could be that good moment where he makes the eye contact with Stephanie Sutton and like, hey, Steph, I've been over here for 12 minutes. Probably could end it here pretty quick. Could you just ask me that contract question so that we can have like that nice natural break
Good
and then
point.
it'll be over at that particular point in time?
Good point.
And kind of the last thing about it is, when it really boils down to it, you wonder why athletes and media might not get along. It might be a situation like this. And I know Stephanie and I know Mike are giggling it off and laughing it off. And I know Jordan Love's laughing it off too. But that goes against a little bit of a code. Hey, I'm going to come up and talk to you guys. There's only one thing. I just don't want to talk about the contract. I just don't want to talk about it. It's the only thing anybody's talking about. It's going to get done soon. I just don't want to talk about it. I'll talk about it when I have to talk about it in the building. How does anybody garner trust between those two, sides, between the athlete and reporter? If you ask one simple question, please just don't ask me about the contract. And
Yeah.
you still ask him about the contract.
And that's where I would like to know, and probably next week when we're up at Packers training camp, and this show will be broadcasting live all week long next week, the weekend after, the week after, the week after that, the week after that. As long as there's public practice, 9 to noon, I will be at Ray Nitschke Field. I'm excited to hear from Mike Clemens also what like the exchange was, Mike or John, potentially after the mics went off or before the mics went off, as well of, hey guys, just so you know, I understand that you're going to have to ask the question. It's going to happen at some particular point in time. You do know that it's going to get shot down here, and there's no disrespect, because I do like everything that Jordan has done and showcased to us so far has been top notch, right? Awesome dude, handling his business fantastically. They're not going to negotiate in the media. I appreciate that they're not negotiating in the media. I appreciate this isn't becoming a Brandon Ayuk situation where it's back and forth and it's tumultuous, and now you have trade demands and requests over there in San Francisco. But I like that San Francisco has turmoil. We have some turmoil inside the building. I'm going to go figure out what it is during this break. And if I can't get the answer, somebody is going to pay in this 5-minute break.
Just restart all the circuit breakers. Let's see what happens if we try that.
I like to think I'm a patient individual. I really do. I'm I might go full Zabin on this one if this thing continues here for the next 15
The
minutes.
people guessing in the NicoletLaw.com talking text line is kind of funny. Right
I'm
now.
going to
Like,
go get one of those
tell
bats
the
that's in
construction
the,
guys to stop their scissor lifts.
Oh my.
Who's got construction equipment in their yards right now?
Yeah.
Is there a pass device going off in the background?
No, it's about to be a I'm about to go bashing
Heads will
these
roll.
fire alarms with this baseball bat here in a couple of minutes. But we are going to return here, hopefully with no beeping. I know we're going to return with all of you on the iHeartRadio app because Carl and Koufax is listening on the iHeartRadio app. No, it's not the app, Carl. It's something in the building that we are going to rectify during this break. Because we're working on it. Just got the text from Tim Scott. We're working on it. He's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. Nick Brusewitz is battling with all of you on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line in the best possible ways. We're statewide. We're getting over the hump on this Wednesday right here on the Game. Not the beep, I can tell you that much. It's 9 to noon on the game. What's happening? Billy Schmid, along with John Koo, the two-time Super Bowl champion. Nick Bruzowitz battling through with all of you on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. It's 414-799-1973. We appreciate everybody for allowing us to battle through some difficulties there in the first segment. We had a couple of different individuals, maybe with the best wrong answers only. Whose construction equipment is sitting in their yard? Beep, football, beep, contract, beep, Jordan. More importantly, it's Nick. They installed a Cub fan alarm when he's out, and now that he's back in, they are firing it off to try to get him out of the building. I like that one, JB. That could work.
That beep, football, beep, contract. Is that not Matt Schneidman? Right? Isn't that his whole shtick? The robotic responses.
This is Matt Schneidman. Beep. I am in Scotland. Beep for a.
Are we sure he
British
is?
Open. Beep. Oh yeah, I just got another picture. He is now taking pictures with Bryson DeChambeau.
Okay.
Actually taking a picture with Bryson DeChambeau. When he took the picture of he and Tiger, it was a picture of Tiger with he as a cameo.
Yeah, with him just somehow
Just
awkwardly
photobombing
Josh
it.
Albrecht caught into the corner of the screen. Yes.
It was like Josh Albrecht's selfies when he looks at the sun with his sunglasses on and his hat pulled down, biting an apple, right? With something in the background. And that something in the background was Tiger Woods. And Matt Schneidman's. I should have told Matt, hey Matt, you're going to go to an Open over there. Maybe not the one at Royal Troon. Listen, Royal Troon's an awesome course. Listen.
This is a good one that they're playing at?
Yes.
Okay.
Scotland has phenomenal courses. However, I don't know out of all the majors if this is the one that I want to attend.
Okay, I'm glad the golf guy's backing me up on this. I didn't know if I was just being American.
Here's the deal about Scotland. Okay, weather can be turned upside down.
Looks like it. Yeah.
It can happen like that at all the British Opens. I'm okay with that because, as I told you, I don't get hot. I don't get cold.
Yeah, you just live in a life of medium, which is awesome.
Because, like I said, playing in
Mm-hmm.
Lambeau Field with no sleeves, and then playing in the Bayou in the middle of summer for training camp. You just get, it's whatever. It is what it is. So the weather doesn't bother me. But the atmosphere at the British Open can be really great, but then it can also, what do you do the rest of the time? You know, they shut the pubs down in Scotland at like midnight.
What?
Oh, yeah.
They gave extra hours for a week on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday here because there are people in town. They're going to shut them down earlier?
Oh, they shut them down at 12 o'clock.
That's
Scotland.
terrible idea.
And if the Open's coming there, they might shut them down at 11.
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
Well, they
That's
shut them
terrible.
down early so that the Scots actually wake up and go to work the next morning. Because rumor was if they don't shut them down by midnight, they don't ever wake up and go to work the next day. But I've been on golf trips in Scotland. It's you can get the British Open, or the Open as they call it. You can get it in Ireland. You can get it in England. You can get it in Scotland. It's a UK kind of golf thing. Scotland's the last country I would have picked to go to, although Royal Troon is an awesome golf course.
Yeah, I mean, it looks nice behind him. I'm not even going to really say gorgeous. It looks like a golf course in a foreign land here. But I'll be honest with you, John, the picture that he posted of Tiger, I was like 94% sure that he photoshopped himself into that photo.
I was very close to saying Photoshop or nay. I was very close to saying Photoshop until the second one with DeChambeau came up.
Yeah, because the second one definitely verifies that he is there. What's your feeling now? Granted, he has. Listen, I like the fact that we're giving live updates of Matt Schneidman's vacation at the British Open. But he's removed the athletic sweatshirt, which I thought was a good pull because as our boy Matt LePay would give our guy Mike Heller some crap for, that's like him rocking the BS and Bourbon T-shirt at the golf outing.
Matt still has a Matt Schneidman sweatshirt.
Yeah,
if he would that thing on,
that would have been
the Matt Schneidman show.
The Matt Schneidman show sweatshirt.
That'd have been awesome. Oh, did your family make that for you?
Make it.
Hey Bryson. Hey Bryson. By the way, like any chance you'd like to come on for an hour on my Milwaukee radio show in the evenings?
I got a sports show
during the football season. It's it's a football show. Do you like football? We could talk about football.
It's a show. Hey, you'd really enjoy it. We could talk about whatever you really wanted to. Yeah. So the athletic, the work sweatshirt, maybe not the best one. There has been an individual that may or may not have photoshopped some Rob Domofsky headshots into Matt Schneidman's vacation photos. Internet doing a great job here today.
That happened already.
Great job so far on the internet with this.
Oh, yep, there it is.
There it
That
is.
great. That
Big
is
old Rob head
fantastic.
right there next to Schneidman on his vacation. That's what we needed. See, and every time that I start to lose a little bit of faith in the internet, it picks you right back up, right? Like now,
Oh, the internet's a dangerous place right now.
oh, it is so tight. It's
Between
so
what happened
dangerous
in
and wild.
Pennsylvania and what's happening in Milwaukee and what happened with Jordan Love's camp and answering the question or not to answer the question. Yeah, the internet. But well, what happened with the national anthem the other night? And then,
Didn't know if we could feel good about it or laugh and feel bad.
And now do you feel bad that we kind of made fun of it yesterday?
So I do, John. And however, very
I don't.
proud of
don't.
Ingrid. Very proud of Ingrid.
Listen,
Good for
I'm
you.
proud of Ingrid too, but I don't feel bad that I made fun of it. It was bad. It
terrible.
was a bad national anthem. And you know what? She kind of poked fun at going to rehab. So hey, if she can have fun with it, I can have fun with it.
That's true. She did cushion the blow and I think open the door for it to be okay to let the jokes go out here.
I am the most naive radio personality in the world. Maybe that's how I'm a former athlete. I am
One of the
naive.
reasons why people probably like you, though.
Nick, I thought Billy had 4 Grammy nominations.
No way.
This just occurred 2 days ago.
No way.
You weren't on. You weren't on. He said it with a great straight face, and I thought,
Oh,
all right, this man
Well,
somehow,
Damn, at some
some
point in
way,
his life.
met Chris Stapleton and was an executive producer. I don't know what button he was
Songs,
pushing.
Yep.
I don't know what button he was pushing as an executive producer, but he was doing something. He got it. So I believe
Sipping that
that.
Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah,
Well-
it's not hard to. I believed that the only mistake she had was she didn't carry the auto tune out with her. That's what I believe the problem was. You nailed this one right on the head. You knew she was schmammered when
Had
she
to
went
be.
out there, and she was.
Yeah, and the post from Ingrid yesterday after her national anthem at the home run derby. I'm not gonna BS y'all. I was drunk last night. I'm checking myself into a facility today to get the help that I need. That was not me last night. I apologize to MLB and the fans and this country I love so much for that rendition. I'll let you all know how rehab is. I've heard it's super fun. XO Ingrid. So at least the joke there at the end. I've heard it's something. I've absolutely heard it's something. Fun. We all have different definitions of, but. When you put yourself out there like that, I don't know if this goes full Carl Lewis anymore, right? Like, are we allowed to, John, at some particular point when I'm hopefully doing this, in 10 years, 20 years, maybe I'm doing it into a shoebox and that's how it's being distributed at that point. Who even knows with AI? I just want to know that we can still play this one. Right. Is it going to have that lasting power where you can still poke fun at it later on, like the Fergies of the renditions of the national anthem? Or do we now have to just say, all right, that was one day and now we can put that time behind us?
No, I don't see why you can't
All right,
still have fun.
well,
with
that's
it.
my question. I mean,
Good.
which one's worse? And first of all, I had never heard of Ingrid, so it's
Makes
not
it
gonna-
easier.
You've heard her music.
I have.
I know you have.
And
I don't know that you have heard that
what?
Nick has. No, we learned that Nick has been Hunter gets called the Amish cat on our radio station. I believe it's Nick Bruzewitz. Have you ever been to a concert, Nick, that I heard
I
from
have
Mike
been
Keller?
to concerts. I just
Okay.
don't
Oh,
know
you
what
have?
was my
You see-
first one.
You make it sound like
Like
there is some sort of disclaimer here that it may or may not be an actual concert. It might be
A middle school
School-
band.
Yes.
concert.
yeah.
I have
I've been to those
concerts
as well. I've been to those as well.
only with middle
yeah.
school kids singing.
When I
I've
was the
seen-
oboe player.
I've seen some groups. I've seen Chainsmokers was in concert in Madison. A few years back.
Okay. So you're not as
Lollapalooza, however many years ago in Chicago. I went.
okay.
I've
not
done
as sheltered
Country
when you
USA.
go to those events. Okay.
Country USA, Rock USA, both in Oshkosh. Rock, not necessarily my cup of tea. Folks there were pretty
Yeah,
wild.
then if you've been to the country shows, then you probably have heard at least one or two of her potential songs. I didn't realize that I was familiar with some of her tunes, John.
Ingrid Alice
Anders, something like that. Anders.
Oh, okay.
You want to know the greatest story I ever heard in my life about Wisconsin came before I actually moved to Wisconsin.
It involved cheese curds.
in Country
Naj-
USA.
No, it involved Najee Davenport in Country USA.
Yeah.
Luckily,
Najee
not his
Davenport.
closet.
Najee Davenport was on 41 one random day in the off season, and his car blew a flat tire. So he was on the side of the road, and somebody pulled over to see if he needed any help. And he said, I'll take a ride to whatever the closest thing is. So they said, sure, hop in. He gets in the car and he's like, where are you guys going? You guys look loaded up, ready to do something fun. He said, we're going to, what is it called? Summer USA or is it called Country USA?
Country USA.
Kusa.
Summer. Okay,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, so they said, we're going to Country USA. Do you want to come with us? And he said, yeah, I got nothing else to do.
Let's do it.
And he went
That's
to Country
awesome.
USA for a full day with his car on the side of the road and said it was an absolute blast. In fact, this happened when we were teammates in Pittsburgh in 2006. And he told me, if I ever come to Wisconsin, I got to do Country USA because it was a blast.
That was the first recommendation you had
That was
of
the
Wisconsin.
Before I even came to Wisconsin, I got recommendations about Wisconsin.
That's awesome because those events, John, are that's something you live to tell the tale. Now, one day might be the absolute max that you can end up sending. The folks that hit Country Thunder or Country USA, or I believe it's called Country Jam in the Eau
that's
Claire
another one.
area. Yeah. Those are, you're sending it. You're giving her for a good 3 to 4 days. I mean, when you're camping outside potentially and then waking up at 5, grabbing that gallon milk jug of jungle juice and just saying, oh, the concert's not till 9 or 10 tonight.
He spent the night there and everything.
That's amazing.
He stayed there.
That's amazing.
This
Good for
man-
him.
This man just decided to wing it.
That's one of the that is one of the best bleep it I'm in moments of all time. I got nowhere else that I can end up going. My car's over there. You guys are nice enough to pick me up. I'm going to see what happens here. That's fantastic.
I have heard this song. This is
There we go. See, yeah, Bruzewitz is familiar. Yeah, Bruzewitz is familiar. You're familiar with her game just in time for her to go to rehab, which is good. Maybe she
Good for
comes out
her.
and drops 4 more bangers and gets 4 more Grammy nominees and then gets the opportunity to right her wrong of the national anthem. If you are booking the national anthem for any big event, she comes out. You giving her an opportunity for a second chance?
Yeah,
you
why
let-
not?
You
Why
letting
not?
her you letting her right or wrong?
Why not?
I like that. I want somebody to give her an opportunity to sing this song again.
I'm-
Honor our country.
Again, I'm naive. I am a naive person when it comes to humans, and I like to believe just the wholesome best in everybody. That's what I choose
That's
to
awesome.
live my life by. And honestly, when she was singing, I had no idea who she was. I didn't know I had heard songs that she had sang before. And I thought to myself, like I was down in the South again. God bless her sweet little heart,
Oh,
because she's
sweetheart.
just out there doing her best. Come to find out she was schmammered.
She was doing her best.
Hey, she was trying really hard.
I would love to know if just in her mind, like halfway through that, where she's just like, I'm slaying this.
yeah.
Right. Like
Oh,
if
yeah.
there was the moment in time where she's like, I'm going to kill this last
No,
note.
she was that was just the best karaoke she had ever done.
Look at all
Oh,
their
yeah,
faces.
100%.
They're all in awe.
They're
of
all
how
loving this.
fantastic I am.
Look at all the smiles. I'm doing
They've got
so
their
good.
hands on their heads and over their mouths because they're so
I
impressed.
can't believe how good it is. 414-799-1973. He's John Kuhn. He's Nick Bruzewitz. I'm Billy Schmid. It's 9 to noon on the game. It is list week. You already know that we are going to find a couple more lists to be able to dive into and more importantly, get mad about. Thanks to ESPN. Pat McAfee, not happy about the ESPN list. We'll get you some of that as well and enjoy it. It's 9 to noon. Stay wide on the game. 9 to noon on the game. Some news coming out right now from Front Office Sports. It's 9 to noon with John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt, Nick Brusewitz in as our boy Armin Sarian is enjoying the fruits of fatherhood. Starting out, they've had a full week in charge. Just by themselves. Craziest thing about becoming a parent, they just allow you to take the baby home and then you just raise the child from scratch. But as we're sitting here, John, Front Office Sports, along with The Athletic, reporting that the WNBA has agreed to a $2.2 billion new media rights deal with agreements with ESPN, Amazon, and NBC set to more than triple the league's existing money with potential for more. And I know you'd be surprised when you hear that the at least the picture, the front headline that they have there is a picture of Caitlin Clark in her Indiana Fever jersey of a league that within the last just year and a half, 2 years, has been able to find the perfect time for the perfect meteoric rise of interest, ability to grow, and the generational superstar to boot. Like, this comes at the most opportune time for a league that, other than that, was continuing to go. I mean, they were moving, they were going, living life, but now they got charter flights, $2.2 billion coming after the 2025 media rights deal. I mean, it's an incredible package to be able to get here and striking while the iron is hot.
Yeah. And I ask you, Billy, if Caitlin Clark did not exist, would this package be put together?
Do not believe so. No.
Okay. I don't believe so either.
No,
I don't believe so either. The WNBA has been existing for 25 years?
Something like that. If not more,
26, 27, something to that effect. It's been around for that long, has not made money 1 year, not one single year, has not made $1 this entire time. It's been subsidized primarily from the NBA. And that is just fine. That is just fine because, it's a great sport that there's a good fan base for, but it's not one of the popular sports that's able to afford professional athletes and make money. Now you have a generational talent and you have a big push for following, and you get that last piece of the puzzle. You get the media rights, because the media rights is what's going to absolutely open it up so that they can start selling some endorsements and things to that nature. So then when the television companies start making money, that's when the league will continue to make money as well.
Currently, the league pulls down, this from Front Office Sports, $60 million from its rights partners annually. The new deals total $200 million per year and give the league sufficient room to earn more than that, with the potential for bonuses in different revenues and numbers pulled off. Like, John, I don't get it. I do and I don't. I don't understand why people try to then knock down once they are getting the recognition. Like, I think the WNBA is becoming more open and feeling better about just admitting that part of it is, hey man, it's Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. People know the origin stories. Similar to WWE, where you have a vested interest in a story, like Magic and Bird as well, where you saw them at a younger age. You saw their trials and tribulations and their battles on and on and on and on. And you can kind of grow with that. The culture in America is also accepting and ready, I think, for a Caitlin Clark style. Like, people then start arguing, well, she's not the best player of all time. She's not better than this player, not better than that player. Maya Moore was amazing, right? Candace Parker was amazing. I remember when I was watching her dunk and seeing it on Sports Illustrated for kids. The world, and I think the country, just wasn't necessarily clamoring or waiting or ready for one of the biggest stars in the world, sports-wise, to be a female. And like, that's another reason why maybe Caitlin Clark's not the greatest player that college basketball or professional basketball has seen. But damn, she came at the right time when culture was ready for it.
And I don't even know if we know that, right? I've paid attention to more WNBA this year than I've ever paid attention to. Have I watched a single game the whole way through? No, but I have watched parts of games, and I have read a lot of blurbs about the analytics of what Caitlin Clark is doing right now. And what she is doing right now is to some extent unprecedented with the points, the rebounds, and the assists that she is putting up. Now she has an extreme amount of turnovers, and you can debate whether those turnovers are entirely her fault or to blame the fact that she's playing chess while her teammates are trying to learn how to play chess. Right? That's it's kind of the business here. But you cannot deny the fact that she has put a sport on the map, and you and I both believe it's because of her, or a combination of her and Angel Reese, but I think predominantly her, and Angel Reese plays a part in it because any good hero needs a villain. Angel Reese is seen as that villain to Caitlin Clark. And I love the fact that when they match up, I want to see what the hell happens. I mean, there's already been a cheap shot by one of Angel Reese's teammates against Caitlin Clark in the game. Now Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are now battling it out for Rookie of the Year. I mean, this storyline, whether you watch it or not, it only gets better. It only garners more viewership. And there are plenty of things that make lots of money around this country that I pay no attention to. Right?
That's very true. Yes.
And this is one of them that it's going to get a little bit of my attention to tune in and see what happens, especially when these two, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, especially when these two start playing meaningful games like in playoffs.
That's exactly it, John. Like, and you mentioned that they're battling it out for Rookie of the Year. I think that's another good thing for the league, like that it's an actual conversation. Because I mean, Caitlin Clark walked into it like a minus 5,000 favorite to win, and now she's like a minus 500. Like, so there's a real reason to believe that it could be different. You're exactly right. Once they start playing more meaningful games again, like the LSU Iowa national championships and semifinals, it just adds to it. Like the Athletic also reports in the new deals, the quote is, could have as much as 6 times multiple the existing ones for several reasons. First, they leave more room for the league to negotiate separate deals worth more than $60 million annually. Second, the main partners agreed to revisit the value of the deals just 3 years into the contract. So
this is
wild.
This is a trial test for them to take off as a business, as their own individual entity. This is a trial test. And if they can continue to keep the eyes that, and I'm going to continue to say Caitlin Clark because it has been mostly her games that are sold out, whether they're on the road or whether they're at home. If they can continue to take advantage of that, continue to get the eyes and continue to get the sponsorships to buy into these networks, then they will be able to flourish on their own.
You are, when you're able to think of how much different professional basketball is because of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Like Gary Trent Jr. signs with the Milwaukee Bucks for a minimum contract. The minimum contract in the NBA today is $3 million.
That's a good amount of money.
Larry Bird and Magic Johnson would laugh at the thought when they first had started in the NBA that the lowest guy on the totem pole was going to be making $3 million. But it takes years to build upon that. If it wasn't for that first real great rivalry that continued to captivate the country from college to the professional ranks, you just don't get that kind of interest continued to grow. And it seems like exactly what this is turning out to be in the WNBA. And John, I love the sentiment you dropped. There's so many things that make so much money in this world that I don't pay attention to. Good on the WNBA for being one. And when it comes to the championship, maybe I'll watch this year. I'm going to try watch it this year. I'm going to watch the WNBA playoffs this year.
All right.
Don't know how much, but I'm going to watch the WNBA playoffs this year. I'm putting it in.
We're
locking that deal.
And it's okay if you try it and don't like it.
I'm trying though. I am going to try. Yes.
John, are your daughters more interested, or are they approaching the point to be interested in sports? Has this changed anything? Do they want to watch Caitlin Clark? Is that something that has changed in your household?
My kids wanted to watch UWGB.
There you go.
They wanted to watch the Phoenix, and they wanted to watch the Phoenix because they did a basketball camp where the Phoenix were there. These women that are in athletics are empowering as well, and it's not just the Caitlin Clarks of the world. It's the Kaylins that are on the UWGB team, because we watched their first round elimination. Like, we watched that, and we did.
They're also nice.
And then I tried to get them into Caitlin Clark, and they were like, "But we don't know Caitlin Clark.
Now that's fair.
We know the girls at UWGB. They coached us for a day.
They were helping me on the
day.
crossover.
We got to watch them.
Yeah, I like them better. I like them because they were helping
Nick,
me.
we saw them in person. We watched them on television. Caitlin Clark was interested. My oldest daughter started getting into a little bit. But I think there are, I mean, my daughters are still 7 and 9.
Yeah.
13 and 15. We could be talking a whole different ballgame here.
And the amount of 13 and 15-year-olds that then can reach the college ranks and the professional ranks when your girls are that age. That's how the tidal wave continues to roll. And that's where you keep finding more and more idols and role models that come up. All right. 414-799-1973. Hour one in, we battled through segment 1, and by segment 3, hitting triples out of the park. Now I don't know about triples and then bouncing all over the place and then running on home.
Yeah, unnamed in the 414 says, though, Billy, real talk, he kind of misses the beep situation.
Well, I'm glad somebody does. Because my sanity is a lot better. And Nick is not laughing as many times as he sees me lean back in the chair and take a very, very, very deep breath at certain points during that. You're able to witness that on YouTube if you're streaming.
At one point, I was wondering if it had stopped and I was still hearing it.
If it was just the voice now into your head.
Now it's just going to be there forever, but we're okay.
It's still buzzing. Don't worry. It'll come in your nightmares. Hour number 2 at 9 to noon hits you right after this. 9 to noon on the game. Thanks for hanging out. This hour of the program brought to you by Happy Place Hemp and happyplacehemp.com. Everybody relax. Happy Place Hemp is here for all of your hemp needs, whether it's Delta 8, Delta 9 gummies, recreational kind, or if you're just looking for normal CBN, CBD gummies, but hard from just normal because these are locally, legally produced hemp products by a couple of guys who had a vision to make it as simple and easy for people in Wisconsin to enjoy locally and legally produced hemp derived products at Happy Place Hemp. So it's one of my favorite things to talk about. happyplacehemp.com, promo code Billy, 25% off. It doesn't necessarily just mean Delta 8, Delta 9 gummies and other things like that they have, but they're pet products, they're tinctures, muscle creams as well. Fantastic stuff. They can give you real benefits today at happyplacehemp.com. Yesterday, John, as we had been joking around, day one for high school football, at least for us, for the contact days, kids were running around in helmets. Really good development, but I did mention it out to a couple of the kids that we're looking for t-shirt slogans. We're looking for t-shirt slogans that started day one. They helped us out with one. Yesterday's slogan to run with the entire year was shoot, my bad. It's okay. Day one, shoot, my bad. It's okay. Guess what? It's going to get better. It's going to get better. Shoot, my bad, coach. I apologize.
That was
We're
their
gonna work
slogan?
It out. Yeah. Shoot, my bad.
What was the one we came up on the show with yesterday? That one was good.
That one was way better than my bad. But
shoot, my bad. We can't be doing my bad.
That's what it was.
There were
a lot of my bads yesterday, John.
There's nothing I hate more than the tapping your chest saying my bad.
My bad.
But yeah, we know it's your bad.
We were just talking about it in the walkthrough period that we're still in, that we just did 2 minutes ago. So we do know it's your bad, but it's okay. We're going to get better. Things are going to keep progressing, but oh my goodness. Feel good to be out on the turf. It was burning yesterday on that turf too, John. I mean, heat index close to 85, 90 degrees. That's what you need. It's going to be even hotter once these boys get onto the practice field next week for the Green Bay Packers. It really starts turning up. I like, though, that day one of high school football doesn't come with a shareholders meeting. Could be an idea for high school football to bust out.
Yeah.
But Monday, after everybody goes and enjoys practice for the Green Bay Packers, the shareholders meeting will fire up, and that's where the yearly report of the cash flow for the Green Bay Packers comes out. We got the numbers yesterday, and all the smart people online, John, like to tell you a lot of different things that all these numbers mean. There's a staggering number, though, that just doesn't get away from you when you read all the different facts and all the different information about the Packers. They took home, after all the player salaries, different expenses, $400 million. NFL is looking around saying the NFL in total boasted and went up like another $1 billion in 23 from 22. Hogs get slaughtered. That's what at least Mark Cuban was saying. This pig just keeps getting fat. I mean, it just keeps getting fed here for the NFL because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger seemingly. And this is the only moment that any professional sports league gives you any glimpse into how much actual money they're making and bringing in.
Yeah, I started to laugh when I watched Hard Knocks off-season edition with the Giants and saw them celebrating the salary cap going up, almost as if it was like a New Year's ball drop. And we got the news: the cap went up. It went up. God. Yeah, almost. Kind of where you have that European soccer goal meme, where you insert video here and then everybody
in the bar loses
beer
it,
and cheering and going nuts like Nooner Day. I mean, yeah, it was like that. And I started laughing to myself because I thought, every year these numbers come out and they don't come out from anybody else. The NFL doesn't give these numbers out. They don't have to. They'd be crazy to give these numbers out. But guess what? The Green Bay Packers are not privately owned. They're publicly owned. And because of that, they have to give the numbers out. They have to release the numbers. And the NFL does not like this. The NFL wants to keep this a secret, a dark, deep secret. But they can't. And when the Packers bring this out and you find out that the league went from just under $13 billion to just over $14 billion a year. In a year, they didn't gain their net worth by $1 billion. They gained their net earnings by $1 billion in a single year. The NFL will continue, the salary cap will continue to grow up. The number one thing I took from this whole all the numbers that get crunched here, Billy, is when you see the numbers grow like that, you understand now why the salary cap is not necessarily real.
Correct.
It's there.
Yes.
It's there as a guideline. It's there as a baseline, but it's not necessarily real. And you also understand how teams like the Green Bay Packers and others around the league got themselves caught in a very nefarious situation with COVID and the fact that the cap did not go up for those 2 years. That did set teams back, franchises back, for a solid minute.
Well, in COVID, and then also like I immediately see the number of like after you put together, they list their national revenue, $400 million. Like after they paid where the salary cap ends up, right? Like you just look at the easy money. Salary cap is, like you mentioned, $255 million. The total revenue of $654 million. That's still like $400 million of non-player spending. They got to spend it somehow. That's also right around the number that most teams are going to have to potentially pay back if they actually have to pay the damages of that Sunday ticket lawsuit, right? And like other organizations, John, are going to look at that and say, we're going to have to pull that out of somewhere, right? Like our family is going to have to pull it out from somewhere. This is Green Bay Packer LLC. The corp is going to be able to fund it. They have all this money that continues to get sat back in this war chest. So the people that get upset and wonder why they keep expanding.
How much you think is in the Packers rainy day fund? That's what I want to know.
One of my more favorite things to think
War
about
chest?
on a night.
War chest. What's in the rainy day fund?
It is, I got to say, at least 10 to 12, right? With a B.
Oh yeah. I
mean, at least.
It's funny because you take $400 million, you got to pay. I think the Packers have something around 350 employees, so you got to pay those 350 employees as well as, and some of those employees get paid very well, like Mark Murphy and
Wayne Larrivee,
and Matt LaFleur, right? So a couple people get paid really well. But let's say at the end of that, you got 300 million. Okay, what are we going to do now? We're going to buy a little bit more real estate. Whatever house is adjacent to any property we have right now, whatever parking lot is adjacent to
grab
property, we'll grab that. How about we do that? Let's change some video boards. They don't have an owner. They don't need to pocket that. But if you have $400 million after, you pay the players, let's say you take half of that and put it into expenses to better the team. You got still $200 million going away once again to this thing that's called a war chest. They could fight a crazy war with this thing.
Well, and then I like this one from our boy Mike Florio. My boy goes, still despite the $43.7 million increase in revenue, profits dropped for the Packers from $68.6 million to $60.1 million. Mark Murphy, CEO, did say despite the drop that the profits are in a, quote, fairly high range historically. Yeah, doesn't seem like a bad spot to be in. Still being able to pull down that kind of profit at the actual end of the day. And John, that's the part of it. Like you mentioned, buy this house adjacent here, maybe that parking lot over there. People wonder why they keep expanding. When are they going to stop expanding? They're not. Right? Like they're going to continue to expand Titletown in and around the area, continue to reinvest in the area because it keeps helping print money and makes it what I was joking about. I was in Green Bay for a wedding this weekend. You don't do a wedding in De Pere, Green Bay, potentially anywhere near like Swamico area, maybe a prom, a homecoming. They're going to go take pictures at Lambeau, right? Like that's a part of this. That's the stop. It's part of a now journey that people are going to start making more and more pilgrimages from across the nation after hopefully the 2025 NFL draft. They're going to keep building this thing up more and more and more. And I just see how teams around the league watch the Green Bay Packers go. And not only do then they release some of these numbers, Jerry Jones just has to be stewing, John, to be able to see that they're bringing this kind of profit back. And then in 10 years, the Packers are also the only organization that can go, we're going to open up a stock sale. And we're going to sell some shares and people are going to jump in here. Like all other teams have to despise the Packers for not only getting the revenue sharing, being one that brings money in and then also be able to do that just at the back end.
It's funny you say that because I would actually think Jerry Jones, listen, for all the beef and all the guff that most people around here have with Jerry Jones, they don't like Jerry Jones. They don't like the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, you got to understand the business side of football, he has advanced the NFL. He has back in the day when Fox first got their rights to the NFL. We're not talking about payments in billions. We're talking about hundreds of millions, but he was on the forefront of leading the ownership in taking Fox money when the NFL was predominantly CBS money for all those years. And I think CBS wanted to offer something like $200 million for the rights of games, and Fox was going to offer $400. And there were a lot of owners that said, why are we going to shake up a good thing? Why are we going to mess up a good thing? Why would we possibly go to Fox? Fox was looking to get, national recognition as a television company, and they wanted to do that with the NFL. And Jerry Jones saw that as an opportunity, for the league, and he really pushed it. So, I mean, I think Jerry Jones is more of a businessman. I mean,
absolutely. 1,000%.
He probably looks at what the Packers are doing and says, this is amazing. Look at this team. They could just print money up there.
Well, right. No, they can print money, and then in 10 years, they can also do a stock sale. Like, I don't think that it's anything angry. I think it's just sheer jealousy or, like you mentioned, business acumen, respect of saying, damn, they got that thing solved up there in Green Bay. Absolutely solved. And to be able to see this all come to fruition in massive part due to Bob Harlan being able to pass the referendum and re-renovate Lambeau Field, moving all games up to Lambeau Field, it is crazy to see how the organization that's been around for over 100 years in just the last 40 has had such a drastic change that, I mean, there are definitely times you listen to our guy, Doug Russell, does a fantastic job of Tales in 1265, the podcast,
Muscle.
and Love Muscle is loving that work too. Loving that work. That's a part of it for Doug. Labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
You realize just how tenuous some of those years were business-wise for the Green Bay Packers. Those days are so long gone, unless we do see another like 3 or 4 2020s, John, because no team had that planned for. The Packers were one that were able to seemingly tidal wave survive it. Clear cut right across the Pacific Ocean. It'll be okay. We'll make landfall, and all's well that ends well. We'll see you playing football back in 2020 and 2021, making money.
You brought up a good point about Bob Harlan bringing all the games to Lambeau and keeping the Milwaukee package, that gold package. I mean, I never got to experience a game at Milwaukee County Stadium. Do you remember any? It had to be before your time.
No,
too,
so their
right?
last game was 94. That was when I was born.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I wasn't sure how old you
Unlucky.
were.
Right.
Do you wish they still had 2 games a year in Milwaukee?
No, just because of how good the experience is at Lambeau. I understand, though, now a little bit older, as to why my dad and uncle, when we'd be driving up because they had been going to games at County Stadium, would say, man, I wish these games were back in Milwaukee. Right? Once we hit that Oshkosh area, John Orr, we went 43. Once we hit right about Sheboygan, right when you crossed over the Acuity flag, they're like, this was pretty nice when we were already back home drinking a beer at this point. Instead, we still have an hour to play, and we're still cruising here on the freeway with a little bit more traffic. So I like it. I didn't know anything different. But from a sustainability standpoint, I just don't know that they would have been able to do it if they continue to go back and forth, because they wouldn't have made it that kind of iconic stature that it is, where Lambeau, when I was really young, when I was first going to games, the accessibility to tickets wasn't the same because people weren't making the bucket list trip like they are now. I don't know that it gets to ever that standpoint, that level, without the renovation and without all the games being played at Lambeau Field. What about you? Would you have liked to play multiple games, home games outside of Green Bay? Talk about competitive disadvantage.
They did this from 1933 to 94. 1933
over at the State Fair Park.
Yeah.
Yep.
They played home games there from 1933. See, and as much as you think you might know the history of the Green Bay Packers, you find out there's always just a little bit more that you can learn. I knew that they played some games back in the 30s. I didn't know they did it every single year from 33 to 94. I kind of thought this was, a way to try and create some intrigue back in the 70s
Sure.
and 80s
Yep.
when they were, I would have thought once they reached, Lombardi's Packers and they were, winning 5 out of 9. And I would have thought, man, they're going to stay at Lambeau
Mhm.
Field and people are going to come see them because they are the show, but they're doing this for that long. I don't know. Would I have liked it? I think I would have enjoyed. I enjoy, the love of the sport, right? I love when fans are passionate. So I can only imagine the atmosphere at County Stadium was incredible. And I've watched some old games from County Stadium, not like Armin, not the entire game, but I've watched some, like the fourth quarter of Favre, I think it was versus the Falcons at County Stadium.
That was the last
him
one.
Diving into the end zone. I watch it and it looks great. I would not have liked doing the both teams on the same sideline. I did that in college. It's kind of weird. It's kind of awkward.
Gonna get frisky.
Yeah, it definitely gets frisky. Wouldn't have liked that. So it would have I would have thought of it as the way the Jaguars are in London. They play a London game every year.
Mm-hmm.
They play a London
Second
game.
home.
They play a London game every single year. I probably would have thought of it like that, except this was only 2 hours away and not an 8-hour flight away.
So John Kuhn just mentioned that he had a rewatchable moment, rewatching a little bit of an old Packer game there with Falcons Packers.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay.
I have not just dove in and watched full games, but I will sit down and watch a quarter or something, get entertained.
So there's a certain Packers Prime that is going to be re-aired on this radio station coming up on Sunday. I got to know if it's in your rewatchable category. We'll ask you coming up because there's a lot of football games John Kuhn's been a part of. This one, I would assume, gets put into the rewatchable category because Packer fans, it's at the top of their rewatchable category. But we'll find out from the two-time Super Bowl champion on the other side of this quick timeout. He's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. Nick Brusewitz is with all of you on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. We're back right after this on The Game.
John Kuhn here for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And how do you feel about a good old-fashioned dad joke? Well, let's start with the Wisconsin dad joke. What do you call it when a cow grows facial hair? You call it a mustache. Okay, and now it's time for a window dad joke. What do you need in order to cook in a very sunny kitchen? Well, you need shade and bake. And I can promise you right now, I cannot help myself because my mind is on windows and doors. Thanks to this incredible deal going on at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Listen up, pay as low as $18 per window and $81 per patio door per month if you jump on this deal right now. Pella completes installation with no mess and no hassle, and they leave nothing behind but perfect results. Trust me, I've had them in both my homes and they accommodate everything. Again, get as low as $18 per window and $81 per door per month at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. But this offer ends July 31st, so you better hurry. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details, and please tell Gina Della that John Kuhn sent you. Visit PellaWI.com today.
9 to noon on the game. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Billy Schmid, John Kuhn right there, Nick Bruzewitz doing yeoman's work, battling. Actually, let's be honest, succeeding and thriving through the face of some adversity here today. We're big fans. We're very, very proud of how you're doing that, Nick. Adversity brings champions. Champions are what we like to talk about here on 9 to noon.
Could that be your slogan? Adversity brings champions.
Not a champion, so no. I haven't conquered much adversity that way. Yeah. Instead, my T-shirt is just going to be shoot. My bad. We're close enough. We're getting there. Striving for greatness, knowing that perfection's not going to get reached. So maybe excellence could be somewhere near the end game there. But I did mention on the other side of the break, as we were talking about some rewatchable games, I can only imagine Armin Sarian has watched every 1990s finals game through his paternity leave already, John. I don't know. I would assume that he has watched what is being featured this week on Packers Prime so far on his vacation, because coming up this weekend, a noon boom, you are going to be able to be graced listening to Super Bowl 45 when Aaron Rodgers threw 3 touchdown passes, 2 to Greg Jennings as he won his personal battle with the Pittsburgh Steelers counterpart Ben Roethlisberger, who was bidding for their 3rd Super Bowl ring. The Packers, however, took advantage of a fumble by Rashad Mendenhall and the quarterback's pass, finding Greg Jennings for his 2nd touchdown, trailing by 11. The Steelers needing something special. Roethlisberger connected again with Mike Wallace, who took in his 9th catch of the game and a touchdown, but opting for a 2-point attempt, they were unsuccessful, and the final score reads the Packers 31. Steelers 25. Super Bowl champions, and a 2-time Super Bowl champion was made there with our guy John Kuhn that day. So I know Armin's watching that. I know he's listening to all 3 hours of Packers Prime this weekend. But John, I think Packer fans want to know, how many times have you watched Super Bowl 45 over? Have you ever watched it over?
One time during COVID. One time during COVID when they were replaying every game there was to ever replay.
So just by happenstance too, then, that you ended up stumbling.
Yeah, I wouldn't have watched it. And I always wondered, and this was one thing that I forgot, is when I see the stat sheet from that game, I noticed that I don't pop up in the stat sheet. Well, I know that I had a carry that got audibled at the line of scrimmage to the pass. It was a run pass kind of option, and it got switched to the pass variety at the line of scrimmage. So I didn't get a statistic there. But I do remember that I tackled Antonio. This is crazy. I remember that I tackled Antonio Brown on a punt. And I was
Rookie Antonio Brown, yeah.
Why does that not show up in the stat sheet? Who stole my tackle? Well, nobody stole my tackle. Dyrell Briggs was actually downfield too early, and we had to punt not once, but twice. We had to re-punt on the punt return that I tackled Antonio Brown on. So in a sense, it was no harm, no foul. It was like a catch that never happened because of offensive holding. It was a statistic that never counted. And I didn't, and believe it, I did not know that. I did not remember that until I rewatched the game in like 2020.
Wow. So that you had a Tony Snell performance, right? You just a ton of minutes out there and
40 snaps, no stats.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh yeah, just a lot of blocks.
That's crazy.
A lot of blocking.
Have you watched any games back? Have you made it, an effort to watch any games from your career back at all?
No, man. I
lived it.
This is why I didn't remember it, because every game that you play in, you watch with your coaches, you rewatch it, except the Super Bowl. There's no point. The season's done. Yeah, the season's done. You just start throwing down. So I never watched it. Never watched it after the game. Never needed to. And then it just came up on the screen one day during COVID. Okay, I'm going to watch this. But do I watch? What games would I watch? What would I want to watch?
The 2014 Des Caudick game.
Yeah, that was a great game.
That'd be a good one.
I'd like to watch the first drive of that game, because I remember we ran it straight down the Dallas Cowboys' throats, ran it straight down their throats, and failed to score a touchdown. I think we went for it on 4th and goal at the 1-yard line and missed it.
And got stuffed up. Yep. Yeah. What about the?
But that set the tone. That set the tone.
See, I mean, we can find some other ones for you to rewatch, John. If you want to become an Armin Sarian-like individual, which I've heard a lot of our nooners have been striving to do, we could give you just a whole list of Packers Prime games, just all throughout your career to rewatch them.
I remember them already. I could recall 90% of nearly every game. 90%. That's
crazy too, by the way.
Well, I can recall 90%, but then, like I said, I couldn't understand why I didn't get the tackle. Well, I didn't get the tackle because there was an illegal man downfield at the time.
Do you think do you think of any teammates and be like, I know he's probably watched that game countless times?
Oh yeah, Josh Sitton obsesses over stuff like that. I know.
That's awesome.
He and TJ Lang, they, before we would show up the next day to watch the film, they will have rewatched it 2 or 3 times.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Good offensive lineman. Yeah.
Well, they were super either defensive or anal, one or the other, and wanted to watch and be ready for they wanted to be ready to perform their defense in court when they got in there and was questioned why they did what they did. Yeah, they would definitely watch it over.
See, I love that because I know so many of our listeners have thought about it and probably watched that game and countless times. I couldn't tell you how many different times that thing flares up on YouTube. Full game? Yeah, for sure. I'll throw that thing back on. And instantly I'm remembering like the party and different levels and different moments of the day and of the sequence of events, watching the game and like putting yourself back in that moment. It's one of those that is I'm so glad that we still have the archive. Obviously you're not getting rid of that one, but to have it as well produced as Doug does it. And luckily with this episode and this year's versions of Packers Prime, they've got Larry McCarron and Wayne Larrabee kind of talking in and out as to how they were feeling throughout this game. Now, John, you get to listen to Wayne and Larry in your ear and then contribute, obviously, but you get to also hear the fun stuff, which is the in-between break stuff, where they're really going fan-wise on this game and solving some of the team's problems and solving the world's problems. How do you anticipate Wayne was right there in the tenuous moments there of the third quarter, knowing how you hear him broadcast games?
Wouldn't even want to hear those commercial breaks. Wouldn't want to hear the sky's falling. We're losing the game.
Rock, come on.
Stink. What is wrong with our offense right now? Why can't we get it moving? I don't know. We just don't have it. I'm worried about this Ben Roethlisberger. He does this every single game, Rock. Does it every game. Brings his team back. Looks the same way. They're losing. Then they come back and they win it. And then I can hear Rock going, geez, Wayne. Let this thing play out. We're winning. We were up 21-3. We're winning. Let it play out.
Wayne, it's all good. They're still throwing to Mike Wallace 16 times. That's a good thing for us. That's a good thing for us.
I had a Mike Wallace jersey.
Yeah. How does this conversation make you feel, Nick, as the Steeler fan on the radio station?
Not old enough to really,
for this to be a terrible
game.
scar.
I remember crying. I do remember crying.
I love that.
But yeah, it was quite the game. And at the end of the day, now,
Man, you cried?
Back, I did. Yeah. I was,
good on you, man.
I was locked in,
I also remember crying.
John's gotten the Super Bowl ring on both sides, right? So it had
That's
been
fair
tough for him.
The Coon Bowl was really
I love all those guys over there, but
he was very, very happy.
Just joking around. Yeah, it was a tough night. It was a tough night for me. I remember being a little upset. We had a little bit of I believe that Friday before that weekend, they had all the kids in my elementary school make Packer signs, and we walked around the building holding up our Packer signs. And I was the only one with a Steelers sign. I remember being there.
Oh, so you were that kid, though.
I was holding up the Steelers sign.
Well, think about what this did, though.
About
what this did, though. The Steelers were on the cusp of maybe dynasty 3-6. I mean, the Chiefs have 3-5. The Chiefs have 3-5, and we say that's a dynasty. This was very close to being 3-6. And okay, so Tom Brady would have lost in 2007. I think they won it no, they didn't win in 2006. That was the Colts.
Nope.
No, it wasn't.
They hadn't won one.
Who was 2006?
Since 4.
Yeah.
2006 was the Colts.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. You said nope. You were talking about the Patriots.
Sorry, I was talking about the Patriots. Yep.
And then they were again in 8, and then 9 was the Saints. So yeah, I mean, the Steelers would have won 3 in a 6-year span when the Patriots didn't. You could easily said it went Patriots, Steelers, Patriots for dynasties.
Well, and I mean, just think about what that would have been for Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, because you mentioned down 21-3 in the Super Bowl. He would be where Patrick Mahomes is being talked about right now. Like that's a moment where he would have launched into a different level of greatness.
So let me ask you this question. I see it all the time online. Whose career would you rather have? Roethlisberger or Rodgers? I mean, the Rodgers has the numbers currently, but the Super Bowl appearances and the Super Bowl wins for Roethlisberger. The Eli Manning Rodgers one doesn't hold water with me because the talent for me.
Sure.
If Eli wasn't there. So now when you ask yourselves, would you rather have Rodgers' career or Big Ben? Numbers are comparable at this point. You know, Rodgers less turnovers, Roethlisberger more 500-yard games, right?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
John?
If you say just from a career standpoint, and nothing else, just a career standpoint, I'd take Eli Manning over both of them. Well,
Wow.
I probably wouldn't take Eli Manning over Roethlisberger.
Over Ben?
I'd probably take Roethlisberger over Eli Manning and then both of them over Rodgers. If you're just talking about the career, because I'm dead serious, the Super Bowl is intoxicating. And when you are there, you need it again. And Ben went to 3. So at least he
Went
got
to 3,
that
yeah.
sniff of the third one. He went to 3. He won 2. But man, Eli Manning beat Tom stinking Brady 2 times in the Super Bowl. I mean, you can't, there's not a man on earth can say they did what he did. In fact, Patrick Mahomes, we can talk about Patrick Mahomes all we want. Patrick Mahomes faces Tom Brady in the playoffs. He loses.
Lost twice.
He loses.
Yep.
Right? Eli Manning doesn't. He's the one man that can stand up and say, hey, I didn't lose to Tom Brady now. I didn't lose to him. Like everybody else did. All these other phonies out here, I didn't lose to him.
Yeah, I'm struggling because you're also now talking about a personal favorite of mine with Ben Roethlisberger because he gave all big dudes hope that if indeed they gave you the chance to wear that single-digit jersey and line up behind the line, you were going to do what Ben Roethlisberger was, be deceptively athletic and just slinging that pill left and right.
And I'm going to have to take Ben over Eli for this because Eli had like 2 dream seasons and dream runs. Ben did it like nearly every year for a solid 10-12-year stretch.
But then I also got to know that I'm going to have to be in a walking boot and a sling and a back brace. Like,
so
well, that's
7 or
why
8 weeks of the year.
But this is why I told you guys it only on the career basis. That's it. Only on the career basis, because then you start talking about, okay, well, now I'm going to play one at Lambeau. I'm going to play the other one there at Heinz Field. Man, those are 2 great venues.
Great
That's
spots.
One's got a great defense every single year. The other one doesn't have a great defense every single year. Okay, that changes the whole thing. I mean, there's so many different avenues and factors to it. But you talk about just football. I want those championships, Nick. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, and if I didn't have
enough.
to be suspended like Ben, I'm definitely taking Ben's career. I'm gonna not go through that stuff, and I'm gonna take that one.
And that's where John erased.
Yep.
You know, just
Take that
the
one and
career,
enjoy it,
just what was on the field.
Also, then I'd get a badass podcast when I was done with it, and people would come and drink bourbon in my basement like Ben Roethlisberger. Plus, that's what he's got going on right now. That seems like a pretty good deal to have.
Plus, Aaron doesn't get the benefit bonus of him leaving and the team not having the next guy. I mean, like everyone wants Ben back. I mean, everyone's praying that they can find a quarterback in Pittsburgh. Well, Jordan Love filled in right away and said, all right, I'm that guy.
And I also wonder if, John, the fact that Ben did get to end his career with the only team that he ever played with, if that would be an envy point from Eli and Ben that Aaron wasn't able to do. Like, we'll see how it ends up being with the Jets. But I also wonder if that would be a contributing factor 20 years down the line where he would say something about that part.
That's why when I tell you guys, like, I if it's not the Packers winning the Super Bowl this year, the team I want to win it the most beside the Packers is the Jets, because to be a 2-time champion, that changes absolutely everything. And I think it's something that Aaron Rodgers deserves.
Thomas in Alaska. Come on, Manningcast has to be better than Ben's podcast. Wow, dang. Then I get to do a TV show with my brother and watch Monday Night Football and make fun of him. That would also be a good time. Listen, yeah, but then you get to fly around the country and do ayahuasca if you're Rodgers. That sounds like a fun time too.
Well, I know.
That sounds like a fun time.
Well,
I don't know.
You take Terry Bradshaw over Aaron Rodgers because, I mean, all the stuff he got to do, the life he's lived, the crazy stuff
paying
he's
a lot of
into.
alimony, though. Paying a lot of alimony.
Do you want to talk about a riot fest? You should have seen Pittsburgh in the early 2000s. Okay, yes. I came to that team after Ben went 15-1 as a rookie. You want to talk about a key to a city and an extra special city that loves football? Yeah, that was a different place.
And somebody that could crush a couple of IC lights.
And before camera phones?
Yeah, that's it. I'm taking Ben's deal. Yeah, I'm taking Ben's career. You just sold me on that one, John. 414-799-1973. But we took the one game that's being played coming up on Sunday, and you should be listening to it on Packers Prime. Super Bowl 45. And we're with our Super Bowl champ, John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt, Nick Bruswitz, and all of you on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. It's 9 to noon statewide on the game. Welcome back. 9 to noon on the game. The iHeartRadio app streaming live on YouTube, not X at the moment. Thanks a lot, Elon. We'll get back to there hopefully momentarily. But most importantly here today, as we have a Coons Can't Miss coming up here in a matter of moments, about 20 minutes away from right now. We're going to, at the top of hour number 3, which is always our best hour of the day, we are going to give you the latest rendition of this ESPN Top 100 list that is captivating the nation, and also allowing Pat McAfee to just dismantle ESPN. John, live on ESPN's air yesterday. It's so expletive filled that it doesn't fully make a whole lot of sense if we take out all the cuss words. But the list that we have now been able to dissect over the last couple of days really just blast, with Charles Woodson ending up as number 100, Aaron Rodgers at 91, and then James Harden at 67. Just wait for the next renditions that come up here momentarily. But to then hear somebody that is on ESPN talk about ESPN that way, and then also he's going to show up here in like 15 minutes, it just proves that this cat has somehow cracked this sports media code and has so much leverage against that 4-letter network. He can basically say whatever he wants at this point on their air. It's crazy. There's no repercussions for it. I'm for one, am stunned, but as a fan of McAfee, I love it, and I'm glad that it has continued. But stunned.
So as it pertains to that show, they do a portion on ESPN's airwaves, and then they do a portion that's not. And I believe because of the amount of profanity that is laden in this piece, that it was probably from the spot after they went off ESPN's airwaves. No, this was live on ESPN's
John, this was live on ESPN like the first 5 minutes of the show.
With all these cuss words.
With all those cuss words.
Okay,
the only one that they're not supposed to say on ESPN is the F word.
Mm-hmm.
They still say the F word. They just end up dumping that one on ESPN.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, this goes to show you, never back down, never surrender, because that's what Pat McAfee did with ESPN, and he's still winning. And I'm glad that he can call them out for stupid polls, because there have been times when people have come out and listen, I got to tell you, Jeff Darlington's list, and I like Jeff Darlington. I've come across him several times throughout the last few years. He's a nice guy, great guy. But his lists of the NFL execs around the league, to me, are no different than Bob McGinn's lists of ex-execs or execs around the league. You're finding guys that tell you what you want to hear to write a story, right? And I saw today within that top 10 quarterback thing, you got one exec talking about Josh Allen doesn't,
makes too many mistakes
at the line of scrimmage, and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, yeah, you could literally say that about any quarterback if you wanted to, and have a way to defend it. I take every single one of these lists with a grain of salt, especially this top 100 athlete list, because this thing it's turned upside down. We said yesterday that was stupid.
Oh, it's hilarious.
It's even dumber today. Nick asked us what the merit is. Mm-hmm. We have no damn merit. All we have is merit. All we have is a timeline, Nick. And this is the stupid part about the timeline. The timeline starts 2000. So anything before 2000, you need to throw out. It's impermissible in court. You throw it away. But anything that hasn't happened yet, you need to speculate what's actually going to happen. So it's from 2000 to infinity. And we haven't reached infinity yet, but we're supposed to project what Nikola Jokic is going to do in his basketball career. And that's why he's listed at number 28.
Oh, my God. It's hilarious. And this also starts from, 25 years ago, the ESPN Sports Century Project ranked the top 100 North American athletes of the 20th century. So I don't think anyone's surprised. Yeah. Michael Jordan came in first.
There we go.
Followed by Babe Ruth, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Wayne Gretzky. Not going to be a whole lot of arguments there.
Well, they had 100 years, right?
They had 100 years. And they also then were able to say, most of these guys' careers are over. Some of them are dead. We can then fully judge, and no one has to have their feelings hurt, and no one has to lose certain parts of their athletic careers. But then the other part of this that I'm starting to realize that I'm really, really glad they didn't, because it's given us some fantastic conversation. Like, thank you, ESPN, for being as wild as you are sometimes. They could have just done what the NBA did with their top 70 or with their 75 anniversary team. Hey, these are the 100 greatest athletes of the 21st century so far.
Mm-hmm.
And people would have looked and said, sweet, JJ Watt made it. He should have. Instead, we're looking at it and saying, JJ Watt, 58? Are you ridiculous? And you can find a polarizing take on both sides.
No.
But then it wouldn't have been fun.
I still need to know. Is this their accomplishments? It says, the title says top 100 professional athletes since 2000. What makes you a top professional? Is it winning? Is it being an athlete? Is it being athletic? Because I'm sorry, if it's being athletic, Bo Jackson and Michael Vick should be on this list, because they were two of the more athletic people you will ever see in your entire life. But Bo Jackson didn't play after 2000. I guess he couldn't be on the list.
But Vic could have been.
Michael Vick.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah.
So my point is, where are the, if it's about being an athlete, where are the unbelievable athletes? There are some on here. Charles Woodson was one. He was 100. Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson, those type of athletes, unicorn athletes that you see. Right? That if you're doing it that way, okay. But if you're doing top professional, like Peyton Manning's an athlete. He's a great athlete, but he's not athletic like Randy Moss is athletic, right?
Well, I mean, or like Jimmy Johnson is.
So I just
Comes in at 47.
Is it accomplishments?
Auto racing driver, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? You don't think Jimmy Johnson the coach is?
That's what I was wondering. I just wanted to
be showing
clarify
some
everyone
people up
out
on a
there.
Peloton. We don't know
It's,
exactly what he's been doing here in the 21st
it's
century.
the Lowe's dude who drove NASCAR. A long
Yes.
time.
Well, there's also another auto racing individual on this list.
Michael Shoemaker.
I think it's Mocker.
number 20.
Yes. Yep. So we have more. We have one individual from the state of Wisconsin that finds his way on here, and we are very, very happy for him to find his way here. But there are so many transcendent athletes over the past 25 years. They tried to find a way to get this through. And again, also though, let's put this clarification in here. They did put Secretariat as the 35th most accomplished athlete of the 20th century.
Yeah.
So luckily there's no horses.
Yet.
American Pharaoh's not on the list, right? Then that's not a top 25, right? Right? All right. Well, we'll have to find out tomorrow, but you'll have to wait through this break to be able to find out where our favorite, our Adonis, Giannis, ends up falling here on this list. And also, we are coming dangerously close, 1 week away to being able to find out for sure if Giannis is going to be the flag bearer for Greece coming into the Olympics. Those conversations all coming next week. The next segment brings the favorite one of the day, the Coons can't miss. And how on earth are we going to find something to invest on the lowest of low tide sports days of the calendar year? You're just going to have to wait to find out. 9 to noon on The Game. 9 to noon, hour 3, always our best one of the day, and you know that it's coming your way on the iHeartRadio app, as well as streaming live on YouTube and the Game Radio Network. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Billy Schmid. John Coot is with all of you on the NickLayLaw.com talking text line, and Nick Bruzowitz battling through, just dominating here today inside the iHeart Megaplex studios. We're a big fan of all the work that he's doing. Dominating could be a way that you could say for the AL in the All-Star game over the last decade. Fellas, last night, I'll be honest with you, only caught the tail end of the game, which at 5-3 somehow felt like 10-3. Watching Brewers baseball this year, I'm like, there's a bloop and a blast, and this bad boy's tied. So it had me tied to the final couple of innings of that All-Star game last night. But Paul Skeens, 16 pitches, lines up, knocks him down, walks one. Looked like a fun event last night. However, the biggest conversation out of the All-Star game, seemingly, John, is always something bad about the All-Star game. This one I can actually agree with. They need to go back to the team jerseys.
I knew you were going to say that. I like the
they do.
uniforms.
Oh,
The creamery ones that they had, where they had a malt shop.
how about
Yes,
that?
I liked them.
That's a turn.
The weird highlighter red and the highlighter blue. You know, the socks that had the stripes around the calf that made Paul Skeens look 7'6" instead of 6'6".
Mhm.
I mean, I did. And here's the deal. When I first saw him, I said, ooh. But it was one of those, where you look at it from far and it's like, that's one thing, but you get up a little closer and you pay a little bit more attention to it. I think they could have done a worse job on them. I
Wow.
don't think they were the best uniforms ever created, but I like the fact that they were all wearing the same units.
They're not the worst All-Star jerseys that they've
100%
been. That's
agree.
true.
Could not agree.
Last year's were much worse. Much
Could
worse
not agree
last
more.
year.
Absolutely.
The interesting thing is they flipped it. They used to wear the All-Star jerseys during the home run derby and then their team uniforms during the game. Now they wear the team uniforms during the home run derby and the All-Star game jerseys
'Cause they think
during the
people are gonna
game.
well, maybe it's because the home run derby is more popular than the game itself.
But see, that's exactly what I always thought of as the All-Star jerseys as batting practice jerseys. That's why you wear it during the home run derby. And then people are
You're
watching
making
the
a
home
lot
run
of
derby.
sense.
And then you buy the All-Star jersey for the All-Star game the next day. Like that seems like easy marketing. I was only a business minor and I
Yeah,
came
wow.
up with that kind of stuff.
John, were you in the league long enough for Color Rush? I'm just trying to remember where you crossed over
Mhm.
with that.
Yeah.
And what your opinion on that would have been. Some of them were pretty brutal. Like I thought the Jags puke color one was rough. I thought the
when-
green for
when
the
it was, I think it was Jags, Panthers, and
Titans.
that was the Jags Titans was the highlighter game.
Yeah, I believe so.
That
It was
one
real rough.
That one was crazy. And then there was a Christmas game. There was a green red game. See, here's the
Mhm.
deal about the Color Rush, man. They were just trying to get people on that Thursday night game.
Trying to find
Well,
some people to
and-
watch
and
it.
some
yeah.
of them weren't bad. The Packers was fine. The Saints
I
was
liked the
great. I thought the
all-white,
Saints
yeah.
was pretty badass.
I like the all white. I like the all black. When you go all color, you got to be crazy. Or you got to get careful there because you could look like a highlighter very quickly out there. And I think they looked worse on television, honestly. Those uniforms honestly looked much worse on television than what they did in person. So I it's hard for them to speculate which uniforms are going to look so bad
That's true.
on the
yes.
television, especially those Thursday night games, man. I don't know what cameras they use for those those NFL Network Thursday
Doesn't
night
it
games.
feel a
Ooh,
little brighter generally?
It does.
Okay, I'm glad it
They're-
wasn't just me.
and they're always
Yeah.
those NFL Network ones. The Amazon is
They've
kinda
got it dialed
similar.
in.
Yeah, but
Yep.
it's a little bit better on Amazon. But the NFL Network ones, it was always a lower camera. It was always brighter. The sound, you could never hear what anybody was saying.
Never hear what anyone's
It was
saying.
awful.
No.
So no, I didn't mind Color Rush one bit there.
I'm watching those ones last night, and then the American League literally looked like they were going to serve me a malt. Like that was all I could think of was old school, like what Cold Stone Creamery wanted their uniforms to look like. However, hey, good stuff for the All-Star game last night. Congratulations to them. You drum up some frustration. You drum up some people talking about you. And I mean, here's the other part of it. Got to see Shohei Ohtani hit an absolute missile home run,
Yeah.
which is why you show up. Showed up to watch Paul Skeens and see people hit the ball as hard as possible.
You know, the last thing on this whole thing is, right, I get what you're saying. about the old school serve yourself a malt.
Looks like an ice cream shop to me.
I
Yeah.
like when baseball goes back to their older looking uniforms, and these are older looking uniforms
That it
with
does.
newer colors, which it's kind of fun. It brings a little bit of old and a little bit of new into it. The belts are riot though. The belts with the holographic things on the side. I mean, those things are
What?
amazing. I'd love to get one of those.
Oh, I got to check that part of it out. I didn't realize that part of it. Like, because I also you're talking to a dude that does have all-star jerseys, right? Like, I got a Prince Fielder one from when they were at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, the old red and baby blue one. Those ones were sweet, I thought. And then also when Prince ends up winning the MVP, pear-shaped youth like myself, grab that one from Arizona. So I like that they get aggressive with it.
Yeah.
Just, I think during the game, it would be better for the team uniforms to roll through.
So what I'm seeing here, Matt Strom, I'm assuming that's what you're referencing, John, with the holographic
From the Phillies, yep.
the baseball cards. I think he locked those into his belt as well. It's just his baseball card wrapped around his waist.
There are several of them that had that though.
Yeah, that's the first one that I'm seeing pop up when I type in All-Star belt on X. But it's pretty sweet. I didn't mind the National League. Like Billy was saying, I thought the National League jerseys were fun.
No, I think they're okay. Like, again, these are better than they have been. They are not as bad as the Seattle atrocities that they had a year ago. Just one old man get off my lawn moment. Like, I see that, and like that could be the one where I'm going to agree and say that we could find a little bit more history with the All-Star. Let's go back to our roots. Come on now. Come on, enjoy what we used to enjoy. Enjoy what we love. One thing that we love doing is ripping people on this radio show, and not just because it's fun, because sometimes it's deserved. Like this ESPN list deserves to be ripped. And David Schoenfield is the only person here that put his name on it when he said senior writer from ESPN. Let the arguments begin. Peyton Manning comes in at the new 26 as they rank the top 100 athletes of the 21st century. Our guy Giannis comes in on this list, John, almost halfway further up the list completely than where Aaron Rodgers came in at 91. Giannis comes in at 42 as one of the more accomplished NBA players of all time. When you do look into the numbers, 75th anniversary team, obviously NBA champion 3 years ago today, Sunblock. Or not Sunblock, sorry. The lob, strip, steal, slam, game 5 victory down in Phoenix, Arizona. One of his crowning moments and greatest moments of his career. The next one came 2 nights later when he ended up being the 2021 Finals MVP, 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. Man's an 8-time All-Star already, All-Star Game MVP, 7-time All-NBA selection, 5-time All-Defense, and Most Improved Player. We like that Giannis falls in on this list. Higher than even I maybe gave him enough credit for, John. But those accomplishments, that's the laundry list that gets you there. However, when James Harden's on this list, it hurts maybe as much of the credibility. I like being happy for Giannis, but I keep laughing at this list more that it almost makes me want to see like him be a little bit higher than just 42 on this list.
It's funny. It's just a silly, funny list. And when you talk about the accomplishments, I mean, he's right behind Dirk Nowitzki at
Right behind
41. Yep. And he's already accomplished more than Dirk Nowitzki has accomplished had accomplished in his career. So I think that, based off of that, he should be at least one higher there. So again, the list is silly. It's goofy. It's given us something to talk about. But you can't take it too seriously, because if it is about accomplishments, how do you speculate what accomplishments are going to be had in the future?
Well, that is the toughest one. Yeah, no doubt about it.
If it's just about accomplishments, I mean, you got Nikola Jokic on here, and he doesn't have the accomplishments that Giannis Antetokounmpo has. Not to this point in time yet.
Yeah, the one more MVP, none of the all defensive team ones is a massive part of it for Jokic. But there's also just the recency bias and some of the love affair here. I also am watching Randy Moss play. I'm not trying to say discredit anything here. I'm just surprised that there are not more football players on the list. I would have thought there would have been more. There are a lot of football players, a lot of soccer players finding their way onto this list. But damn, Randy Moss at 27 is also extremely high. Like, he was one of the more imposing figures in pro football. But I mean, he's like 35 spots higher than Ray Lewis, who was like one of the scariest.
When did that juice run
football
out, right, for Randy? Right? When did that kind of tail off? Right? He had a good portion of his great career in the 90s, so not in the 21st century.
Well, yeah, I mean, just before the 98 draft. So he was right towards the beginning of the turn. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he starts in there. That also is, and this is where, I'll put my Jaylen Brown hat on here. Maybe the easiest way to get higher up on this list is work for ESPN, John Kuhn.
And where is Antonio Brown?
Yeah. Good point.
That is a
AB?
very good point. There's a couple of guys that need to be on this list. Antonio Brown's not going to be on a whole lot of lists. And we've had the conversation on this show. And since we talked about Antonio Brown even earlier on the show, I wonder how much of a trial the last couple of years is going to be on him, John, once he comes up for Hall of Fame candidacy. Because just what he did on the field, that cat should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yes.
But we saw with T.O., they're going to factor in everything else. And they held him, who was one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, out for a year. So I think that's an interesting part. If his name pops up, probably on this list should have somewhat of a place, at least an honorable mention. But the Hall of Fame is the one that he's going to want to get into. And I think that's going to be an interesting couple of years where there's some conversation around it.
Yeah, that's a hard one for the NFL right now because Antonio Brown hasn't seemed to calm down one bit since,
or want to, right? I mean, the NFL is probably saying to themselves, as far as accolades go, and deservedly so, he should be in the Hall of Fame. But if we do that, or do we dare put him on that stage with these cameras pointing at him? Do we dare take that chance this year? How do we possibly do that? And does he come out with a shirt or not?
He is a guy that just based off of merit deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And T.O. was the one who decided not to have his Hall of Fame ceremony in Canton, right? He kind of boycotted
he was going to do it at home or in college or something
Tennessee,
like that.
Chattanooga, or wherever he went to school. Where did he go to school again? Tennessee.
I think you're right on that. Tennessee, Chattanooga. That's an amazing poll. I'm on Pro Football Reference already. Open it back up, and it was out of Chattanooga. John Kuhn.
Look at me knowing stuff.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on.
Every now and then I know some stuff.
Let's go. And he did it so sly-like. I hope that's exactly how you deliver this winner here today, because we have somebody coming. All right, Don in Caledonia is coming at the credibility.
Yeah.
And Don in Caledonia might need to sit down and shut his mouth. Know your role. Kuhn been missing the mark lately on his bets. Take the opposite and get your money. Gonna need to change the name from this Kuhn's Can't Miss. Well, Don, sit back, sit down, quiet down, and watch this man deliver you a victory. Come on. A lot of confidence in you, kid.
Listen, I am not worried about a thing. And Don, listen, here's the deal. Here's the truth. I mean, we are out of my wheelhouse altogether. We left the NFL and went into college basketball and then went into the NBA playoffs. And now we are in not just baseball season, but baseball all-star season, where we are betting on who's going to win the home run derby and who's going to win the all-star game, and whether it's over or under 7.5 runs. How about that line last night for an all-star game? Over under 7.5 runs. Finished at 8.
Pretty good at it, huh?
Good for them. Good for them. Bad for me. But that's okay, because it doesn't matter what you like to invest on or how you like to watch your sports. You can watch it down at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook. 2,000 square foot LED screen and seating for over 200 and some of the finest seats you'll ever find in a sports book. In fact, it's the biggest, best sports book outside of Vegas, and I will take it in a matchup against many Vegas sports books as well. You got to go down there. You got to test it out. You got to check out the bar. You got to check out the screen. The screen, it's magic. Go down there, Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook. And it only gets better. What do we have tonight? Well, we got summer league action, guys. We got summer NBA summer league. What do we go here? Do we go with Bronny and the LA Lakers? Bronny's not doing good. He's
been horrible. Missed 15 of it. All 15 of his threes.
He won that COD championship, did he not? There was a Call of Duty thing he just won this past weekend.
Now I'm going to say Alex Sarr also went scoreless. So it's not only Bronny. But Bronny, come on. John, can I give you an idea though here that might also help you out?
Remember when he was shooting threes at the combine and everybody was like, look at his stroke. It's gotten so much better. Yeah. Well, guess what? He's not shooting against anybody. He's shooting, He's playing horse.
Well, Zach
Like I
Edey
do
made a
him.
bunch of threes too.
I think the worst one was when the whistle blew and my man was like 5 feet away from the basket.
And he still airballed it.
Just airballed it. I mean, that's hard for me to do, let alone somebody that was just
I heard
drafted in
Butchie
the
said
NBA.
there's a 3-year development plan on Bronny. 3 years. I heard Butchie say
I'm
there's
excited
3
to
years
see year 3.
Good God. Let's hope they're developing because this could be a rough one.
So does that mean LeBron's gonna play 3 more years? If that's the case, then I'm excited. I want to know where Butchie's intel's coming. John, also, just if indeed Summer League doesn't feel right to you, some of these golf matchups might be over by the time we get on for the Coons Can't Miss, right? Like this British Open is going to start at like 1 a.m. for us, correct?
Yeah, should I look at that versus trying to pick Miami Heat, Dallas Mavericks, Summer League?
Because listen, I don't know anybody and or their families are going to be in attendance for that game. So maybe you dominate this sport of golf and you've already played this track. You know that this is a great track that they are playing at. And we have intel there, Match Diamond. Like we might be able to pound something here and get ourselves some plus money or something that might be a little more appetizing.
I gotta pick one on the forefront here. I gotta pick an early one.
An early spot, and there appear to be a decent amount of early spots.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, they're gonna tee off at 1 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, you got Justin Thomas and JM. I'm not gonna go there.
No, can't go that. Justin Thomas has just been too tough to even fathom investing on and or against, because then my man goes and leads.
All right, you want to can't
brutal.
miss here. Here's an absolute can't miss. Tommy Fleetwood and Robert McIntyre. Going Tommy Fleetwood, no tie. If you go no tie here, you get minus 125 for Tommy Fleetwood. That's a can't miss.
That's easy money.
Don, that's a can't miss. Tommy Fleetwood minus 125, no tie with Robert McIntyre.
Yeah, and McIntyre is just living it up too much because he won that Scottish Open, so you know that he has just been hammered drunk for the last 3 days and not caring at all about what he's going into for this week. I love that. Flo bro, Tommy Fleetwood gets the win for a can't miss. We can't wait to be able to witness that and cash in that minus 152. No tie, no pause, only victories on the Coons Can't Miss. Take that, Don in Caledonia, on the NicolaLaw.com talk and text line, which is 414-799-1973. If you'd like to join the conversation, because it's robust, it's rolling, and it's all statewide right here on 9 to noon. Congratulations in order for a Wisconsinite in the NFL. That and more when we return. Coon, Billy, and the Bruiser battling. Fantastic work here today. It's 9 to noon on the Game. 9 to noon on the game. How about this from the NFL yesterday? As we're waiting patiently here in Wisconsin, fans of the Green Bay Packers, we're waiting to hear news on our quarterback signing. Yesterday, the Chicago Bears finally got the news that they had been waiting for of their quarterback finally signing his deal. John Kuhn, Nick Bruzewitz with me, Billy Schmidt here. John, the Caleb Williams, how long it takes these rookies to potentially sign when it's all slotted in made really no sense to me. This one all apparently ended up being about when the money was coming on a signing bonus. You knew how much he was going to make. Bears fans were sitting here trying to not be nervous. But from what I was seeing online, some were just starting to get to the point where they're like, hey, man, sign the deal and get in here and play. He ultimately does with $39 million, $25.5 million guaranteed. But when it's all slotted in, it does make me wonder what the heck takes so long on some of these deals.
You want to stupid stuff. Like, would you rather, if you never taken a snap in the NFL, guarantee that, you know, whatever number you said comes to you if you step out there the first day and have a catastrophic injury?
Yep.
Yeah. You're and
like
and,
that first day. Sure.
Yeah. And some people say, well, isn't that slotted? Well, yeah, kind of, but not really. I mean, now you're fighting. This is your first contract. Okay. You got 24 million guaranteed or 25 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
Well, give me 25 million guaranteed.
Well, and it also, like they were saying, it ends up like if all of that comes in one payment or if they'll splice it up between 3 or 4 payments. I watched Hard Knocks and watched John Dorsey did say to Baker Mayfield, you sign right here. And on Tuesday, $18.6 million going to be direct deposited into your bank account. So like maybe that's what he was waiting for. Like, I want my moment where I finally come in and they say, right here is the direct deposit line, and make sure you hit that. And then coming up on the 15th, you're going to be able to see that.
They have caps now, right? On what guys
all
can get paid out of the draft, right?
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. How much would he be paid if he had the Sam Bradford opportunity here?
Oh,
how much?
Over 100. It would be over 100 million. It would be over 100
would
million.
Would he be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL? Do you think the Bears would go all in and say, you know what, here's 55 a year for 8 years?
Wow. I don't know how close any of those guys had gotten at that point that were coming in, but pretty close.
I can't remember. And there was a thing about those contracts too. Some of those guys were doing 6-year deals.
Yep.
Right now they're 4 years with a 5th-year option. They're a little different now than what it used to be. But would he be the highest paid? Not an average per year, but he'd be up there. It'd be a lot now. He'd be over 100 million for sure, if not closer to 200 million.
I'm just trying to see like if there'd be a way that I could go back and look. There's a couple of different sites, like just say like 2006, what the highest paid player in the NFL was. It was Richard Seymour. Like if you just jump up into.
So in 2011, Sam Bradford, I believe he was drafted, and this was his first contract year in 2011. Mm-hmm. He was looks to be right around 10th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He walked in as the 10th highest paid quarterback.
In 2011.
Yes.
Well, that was the CBA that we negotiated that out of. So that was it. Look at Jamarcus Russell. I think Jamarcus Russell got 60 million, 50 or 60 million before he took a snap. That was a big one.
Well, and then Stafford's was also massive too. I remember
Stafford was what, 2009?
Stafford was, yes, at $72 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
1 year earlier. Atlanta offered number 1 pick Matt Ryan a $70 million contract at that particular point in time.
Yeah, so that first overall quarterback was just going up by about $2 million every single year.
Every single year it was.
So so what would it be entering this year if he was the 10th highest paid quarterback? If that's where we saw,
he'd be making 35-40 million bucks a year.
Pretty close, right? 30-ish mil. He'd be right around I believe Joe Burrow's number at 30 million.
The Lions announced the 6-year deal for Matthew Stafford in a release on Saturday morning. This is from when he was drafted April 24th of 2009. So he was signed just before the draft, the night before, for the $72 million, 41.7 guaranteed. The contract could be worth as much as $78 million. The guaranteed money tops $41 million in guarantees that Albert Haynesworth got from the Redskins the month earlier. And at that particular point, that was like the biggest deal that anybody had given when Albert Haynesworth got that free agent deal from Dan Snyder and Washington. So that shows. I mean, like he would be talking for the numbers that Jordan Love is potentially talking for right now. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they did a good job in that CBA going into 2011 of negotiating that out, to getting rid of the free agency for rookies, basically, is what it was. That was their first free agent opportunity, and slotting them into rookie deals. I think that was a smart move by the NFL to do that at that time, because quite frankly, it was getting out of hand. It was getting crazy, and you could be somewhat stuck with a player that even if you busted on them, you would be stuck with them for a period of time.
Yeah, no pause. You're doing the exact thing that you're talking about. Was that can you remember, was that kind of your guys' main sticking point in those negotiations? Or was that like the front end of the retired players push? Or am I mixing up the different CBAs as to when to try to get more money in for the retired player fund? Was that more the 16 negotiation?
I can't remember. The retired, they've been doing that for retired players. Every CBA that I remember since I've been a part of the NFL, there was a little bit going to that, yep. a little something, a little thing here, a little thing there. And they really made a big push in one of those two CBAs, either 11 or 18, I think it was. One of those 2 years, they made a big push. But the rookie pay scale was the biggest move I can remember.
Yeah.
During all the CBAs that I had played a part of, because that one was the first one where there was a major shakeup in how the NFL was supposed to get paid, about how players were supposed to get paid. And I remember, and this is how things can get crazy for a union, and this is why I think the last deal ended up going through the way it did, is because there are a lot of players like myself who thought this money's going to be spread around. We know the top players are going to get theirs, but there's going to be more money, if not going to the rookies, that are going to go to some of the mid-tier guys. And that money never matriculated its way down.
Yeah, because instead they just find an easier way that's more cost-effective, and the team's like, oh, we'll do that instead of this. There's always a tough unintended consequence when the negotiations start falling through. 414-799-1973. That's where Dan in the 715 just fired this message at us. I see the Packers are dragging this contract negotiation out with Jordan Love. Not the way to start training camp. Guess they haven't learned their lesson.
I mean, I don't agree with that.
What lesson? Like what lesson are we worried about? I don't necessarily know that there's any lesson to learn here, other than, John, I still think the keys are in the hands of both guys. I wonder though if indeed there's just a little bit more thought on Jordan's side to say, we already know there's going to be a massive bag coming. We could bet on ourselves and try to hit it after Dak Summer.
Well, this is what people don't understand. It's not, listen, Jordan Love wants to sign the deal as it is. I
would want $200 million.
Yes. Jordan Love is looking at this and he's like, yes, I would sign that right now. If I was representing myself, I would sign that right now. His agent's saying no. His agent's saying wait. His agent's saying we can do more, and we should do more, and they will do more. And Jordan Love, all you have to do is continue to be you. All you have to do is continue to be the model citizen, helping girls get their cars stuck out of snow ditches and snowbanks. Yep. Be the model teammate, continue to lead your young wide receiver group and your offensive line the same way you have the last, season or so. And then just continue to do what you do publicly, and not, stick your foot in your mouth and keep your head on. Jordan Love is a great player and a great person, and the Packers know that. His agent knows that, and that's where this is getting weird between the Packers and their agent, Packers and Jordan Love's agent, and that's where, and it has nothing. Jordan Love's not taking any of this personally, and the Packers aren't taking any of this personally, and the Packers are trying to get this done, and Jordan Love's agent's trying to get this done, and I have a feeling this thing will get done before the first preseason game. The only way you make a significant move, a significant push, is if you have to. And that a lot of times comes down to Jordan Love saying to his agent, all right, well, I want to play in the preseason game because everybody else is playing the preseason game, so I'm going to sign this. I'm going to sign it. And then his agent will go, okay, he'll call the Packers and we'll sign it. Or the Packers go, man, we have to have him playing these preseason games, so let's just give him a little bit more scrun to see if it inspires him to sign it. So then the Packers do it. Or maybe we get to the first preseason game, because that's been my mark the whole time. First preseason game. Doesn't happen by then it gets weird. Maybe we hit the first preseason game. Packers like, you're not playing preseason games anyways. Yep. Let's talk about this for a couple more weeks. And Jordan Love's like, yeah, I don't need to play in the preseason games. Let's be honest. Those games.
So the deadlines are all floating. All these deadlines are floating, and there's really no, because that's when these deals, as you mentioned, John, they do spur action. doesn't fully seem like there actually is like a real one until somebody decides it. Until somebody does the TJ Watt, like you mentioned, Jordan Love calls his agent David Mulligetta and says, "That's it. I'm done with this. I'm signing it and I'm going to go work out." Okay, appreciate it, TJ. That's apparently how it went in Pittsburgh. So maybe that's exactly how it works for Jordan Love.
I don't see Jordan Love not taking the security blanket of a big fat extension before the season. I don't see him not doing that. There's not a scenario in my mind where he goes into this football season and starts playing regular season games without that contract extension security blanket. Additionally, I don't see him holding out. I just don't see it happening. Not with him, not with the Packers.
Not with how far we've come here.
I do not even for a second. I don't see either one of those as a possibility. I don't see either one of them as a possibility. And I think the Packers know that too.
Well, Schneidman needs to get off this vacation and go and be there for report day. What are we doing here? We need somebody sitting there waiting at the gates at Lambeau Field to see if Jordan Love is walking in here, because today is apparently day. Today is report day for the quarterbacks. He could be getting in there. So Schneidman, let's stop photoshopping pictures of us out in Scotland and get back here and let us know and get that breaking news for us here. 414-799-1973. Breaking news. Joel Embiid just fell down. I mean, my man, I have now had this USA-Serbia game on for like 5 minutes, John. Dude has hit the deck 3 times. So we know that at least Joel Embiid is in mid-season form going into the Olympics.
I wonder who told. I mean, isn't that like part of what you're trained to do sometimes, right? Like to fall instead of land awkward. He falls a lot.
He falls all the time.
Like just to land on your side. Don't try and land on your leg without good base.
Listen, good athletes definitely know how to fall.
Yeah,
but good athletes don't fall all that often.
Yeah, that's a really good point. At some point, the athleticism is going to keep you on your feet. You are going to keep your 10 toes on the floor.
He threw it to the ref as we were talking. He passed it to nobody.
Did he join the USA to sabotage our chances to win this gold medal?
Maybe. I don't. When it comes to Joel Embiid, anything is possible.
I mean, are we going to get hosed here by a could have been Frenchman here as the Olympics are going to be in France? He's just going to have an absolute clunker when we play France and let them go and win the gold medal. What a heel turn that would be. All right, 414-799-1973. I can't see the USA losing a game. Right now, they're down to Serbia, so we'll see. And luckily, this game doesn't matter because we need to win this one. All right. USA needs some victories here because the way it's sitting right now, we need victories. Come on. We can't even sing the national anthem to the perfect spot before our home run derby. We need some W's. Let's go get one. 414-799-1973. It's 9 to noon. We round third, head for home next on the game. So there's a couple of ways that you can avoid getting in trouble in this world. One, don't do it. Now that's a crazy concept because that doesn't sound like being any fun, John, right? Like if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, right? That's the old statement.
Great. I love it. Couldn't love it anymore.
Avoid getting in trouble. Just don't do it. Or you can move to Israel. That's what our guy Pat Bev's doing. Patrick Beverley is telling the NBA with their suspension from the playoff situation in Game 6 of the NBA with the Indiana Pacers. Thanks, but no thanks. Going to play for, I'm going to try here.
Yeah, I love this. Let's give it a try.
Hapoel Tel Aviv, BC.
Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv, BC.
What's the first part?
Hapoel. HAPOEL. HAPOEL.
HPP.
HAPOEL.
Oh, it might only be one P.
Yeah, there's only one P.
Hapoel Tel Aviv. Simple.
There it is.
Hapoel Tel Aviv.
Yes.
Hey.
Where is Armin when we need him?
In Tel Aviv, Israel. Historically, the second most successful side of an Israeli basketball with 5 national championships. He is now going to go play in Israel to the tune of $2 million, which is one of the highest ever non-EuroLeague team contracts in basketball history. Also, former Buck Carlos Delfino made $3 million during the 2008-2009 season. So here we go. Former Bucks making a bag overseas. Pat Bev said, hey, man, take that 6-game suspension, and I am heading out of here. He said online that they gave him everything he wanted. They gave him everything he asked for. So he said yes.
So he would have gotten a minimum somewhere in the NBA. And that's about $3 million-ish. Somebody would have signed him.
I don't know.
Really?
I think somebody would have too. I think somebody would have too. I agree with you, Nick.
I think somebody would have signed him. So what did they give him that makes up for the $1+ million difference?
Well, I mean, when you play overseas, a lot of times they give a lot of reprieve in like terms of housing,
just
cars,
maybe just straight gold bars. Maybe
you could be doing bars. That. Pay different expenses, like you don't have as many expenses. That $2 million could be going straight to a savings situation.
No state income tax.
Or just doesn't want to serve the suspension. And like you guys say that pretty confidently. I think if Pat Bev was going to get signed or at least hear that he was going to be able to get a minimum somewhere, I think he would have taken it. Like I think we would have known by now if somebody was interested, unless it was going to be
in the
middle of the season.
Well, then if that's the case, it's not, hey, I don't want to serve my time, I'm out. Then it's just he couldn't find it.
Couldn't get it. Or it wasn't gonna be a guy that middle of camp, then somebody decided to go and get a minimum deal.
Because I agree with Nick. I think he probably could have, and I just think he was tired. You know, Pat Bev seems to me to be a guy that just doesn't need to go through all the rigmarole that is, the NBA, right? He's a guy who's been a part of this thing for a very long time now. He is 36 years old, and he might just be tired of the way that they do business in the NBA. And he might just be tired of, hey, you're going to have to wait a couple weeks. You're going to have to wait until after the season starts. And he's like, well, the heck with that. I can go over here to Tel Aviv and I can make some money and I could potentially come back at a later time. As long as he has in his contract, as long as he has in that Tel Aviv contract and exclusion rights, meaning an NBA team wants to bring him on, he can always come back, serve that 5-game suspension and be right back. In fact, don't even come back for the 5-game suspension. You just keep playing basketball over there in Israel while the 5 games are going here and then come back when it's done.
He also was just discussing it on the Pat Bev podcast. He said Hooper's Hoop was the explanation that he kind of gave.
I mean, Doug Gottlieb told us that years ago.
We know that.
Coach Doug told us that many years ago. And I stick to that. That's a line that I will continue to use till I die.
You guys going to go check out some Coach Doug this year? You going to go and watch a couple of games?
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah,
that's gonna be hard for John not to end up going.
I feel like I'm compelled. It's right in my backyard. Just go over there and see Doug. Yeah, wave to him and say, "Remember when you tried to snipe me on Twitter, there, Doug?
How about that, Doug?
Yeah.
You got any laptops, Doug?
Actually,
maybe some credit cards?
Oh, come on. We're not going to do that again.
Going right back to it.
Come on, man. Listen, kids make kid mistakes. That's
Shoot,
just
my
what
bad,
they do.
man.
And Doug was a kid at one point in time. So,
Yep.
I mean, hey, I don't know how he's going to do with coaching because he is the JJ Redick of our Horizon League, right? We don't know how this whole thing is going to play itself out, but we have this unfolding right before our eyes. And I, for one, am kind of excited for Green Bay basketball. How could you not be? I think this is actually
First time anyone ever said that.
right. I mean, this is the first time anybody's ever said it since I think Green Bay upset Wisconsin at the Resch Center circa 2009.
Sure. Yeah, like
Possible,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the most buzz they've ever had. So like,
Yeah.
I don't, and that was why when they made the hire, I like the idea. I also love the fact that Doug Gottlieb is trying to get his team into the TBT. Did you see that he had put a video out to the NCAA advocating that the Green Bay Phoenix, this is my basketball team. They had been invited to be a fill-in team for the TBT tournament. Now, obviously, NCAA rules prohibit you from playing in any outside tournament that is for cash. But he makes this huge pitch of where they're going to forego their 1 every 3 year foreign trip where they can go and play basketball. Like the Badgers went to France last year, right?
Yeah, Paris.
Yep, Paris last year. And you get one every couple of years. It's like, we'll forego our trip next year. You allow us to play in this. If we're lucky enough to win, we'll donate the winnings to charity. Just continuing to drum up conversation there, John. Not just going to be silent going into his first year.
Make it
They're
fun,
fighting
man.
away.
Make it fun. You make it fun, the kids will come, right? That'll happen.
Yeah.
And he also has Tyrus Thomas
Joined his staff. Yeah.
being a part of the staff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a massive W. Tyrus Thomas was a stud. Absolute savage when he was in the NBA. I love that decision. And I'm also in love with the fact that a Wisconsin guy getting broke off the way Quinn Miners did yesterday. Right guard for the Denver Broncos, 4 years, $80 million. More importantly, over $40 million guaranteed for the highest ever drafted player out of the University of Wisconsin, Whitewater. He was a 3rd-round pick in the 2021 draft. He was a Pro Bowl alternate after starting 17 games. Dude is a savage. He also has fantastic hair, and he's going to get $20 million annually, $45 million guaranteed. Makes him one of the top 5 highest paid guards in football. Love the fact that guards are getting that kind of cash. And we've been able to see Quinn Miners like blocking trees, chopping down trees, doing some insane workouts. I can only imagine now that stuff only gets crazier for the Hartford native with $45 million in his pocket. I don't think we're just going
Nah,
strictly
man,
to
you
going
don't-
only barbells now.
No, you don't have a belly like that and let the money go to your head. Just
No
doesn't happen.
chance.
You don't have a belly like that and let the money go to your head. That dude, what an absolute stud. And I guarantee you on Sean Payton's needs, musts, likes, wants, he's very high up on the musts and needs category as they rolled into this offseason.
Sean Payton's quote, "I love that he's our right guard." There you go.
That's his kind of guy.
It is
That's his kind of guy. It's
Going
true.
on a hunting and fishing trip in 2020 and saying, "Hey, I'm just going to stay up here and train for the NFL, guys. Just leave me in Canada and I'm just going to go absolute barrel chested and make myself an NFL player." We love that. Good on you, Quinn Miners. That's our Quick Trip takeaway of the day, brought to you by Quick Trip. Need something for dinner tonight? Do not cook. Stop by your local Quick Trip. Pick up a freshly prepared, absolutely delicious take-home meal. You might even find some things like chicken Alfredo, their fried chicken, spicy chicken sandwich. Elite. Grab it. Quick Trip. Go and get some today and then come back tomorrow. 9 a.m. You report for duty, report for class. Again, we want perfect attendance tomorrow. We did really, really good here today with attendance, even though, guys, when this thing started at 9 o'clock, people thought there was a scissor lift in the building. We're going to have none of that coming up tomorrow. And maybe that beeping, John, that we had in the first hour of today's show happens tomorrow, and it's a Brinks truck backing up to Jordan Love's spot for a contract extension.
Very well could be.
Very
well could be.
Very well could be the news that we're looking for tomorrow. We'll let you know if it is with John Kuhn, Nick Brusewitz. I'm Billy Schmid. The Mike Heller Show featuring Jocko is next. We'll try to be better on Thursday. It's been 9 to noon on the game.